Hello, this is your compliance assistant. I can help answer questions about the HIPAA security rule. What would you like to learn about today?
What is a HIPAA risk analysis?
The HIPAA risk analysis is a required implementation specification under the Security Management Process Standard of the HIPAA security rule.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions about HIPAA compliance, feel free to ask.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you for reaching out. If you have more questions in the future, feel free to ask. Have a great day.
You too. Bye. So what if your AI agents could actually talk back in real time using your own data? In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a voice RAG agent using Retell AI, n8n, and OpenAI. It listens, it understands, and then it answers from your own uploaded documents, all through voice. Let's get started. I'm going to first walk you through how to set up your voice agent in Retell AI, after which I'll switch over to n8n to show you how that's also configured. So let's start with Retell AI. You first need to sign up if you don't already have an account. When you come to this dashboard here in Retell AI, what you really have to do is click on Create Agent, and then you would select Voice Agent. And then in here, they do have multiple types of agents. So they have like Conversation Flow Agent, which is really for rigid, highly formatted conversations. So if you don't want to have any flexibilities in the conversation and you don't want to have your agent like doing extra stuff that you haven't actually programmed it to do, and you'd want to go for Conversation Flow Agent. And I see this to be helpful for maybe FAQs, like if you have like standard FAQs and you wouldn't want the agent to like sort of go off rails, or you have like standard procedures and you wouldn't want your agent to go off rails to do something else, you probably would want to do the Conversation Flow Agent. They also have like a single prompt agent. Single prompt agent is for simple free-form conversations. And then there's also the multi-prompt agent. So the multi-prompt agent really is similar to what I demoed, but then like let's say if I had like a follow-on question, then I'll probably use the multi-prompt agent. And then they have like the custom LLM, so you could basically attach your own custom link. You can also basically attach your own custom LLM link, and then you'll be good to go from there. So now let's start. I'm actually just using a single prompt. Let me just go with a multi-prompt agent here. I'm gonna click on multi-prompt agent, and I'm gonna click on select template. Okay, I'm gonna start from blank, and as you can see, they have like multiple, like they have other templates you can select from, but I'm just gonna start from blank. And then once you do that, it brings you in here. What you want to do is you can decide on whether you want to use GPT-5. 4.1 works for me, so I'm gonna do that. And then you can also select the voice. Okay, like what you heard on the demo there was a female voice. If you don't want a female voice, you want a male voice, you can do that. I'm just gonna keep it as default, and then you can also configure the language. So if you want it to be multilingual, then you can basically select that. I'm just gonna go with English for now because that's what I can use. And then in terms of the welcome message, you can also configure like whether you want the AI to speak first or you want the user to speak first. In this case, I want the AI to speak first. So from the demo you saw, when you call that number, the AI sort of greets you first. It really depends on what the use case is in your organization and how you'd want this to sort of like work out for you. I want it to like speak, let's say, a custom message, okay? I don't want it to like just say anything. So I'll put in like my own custom message in there. And then let's move on to the right side. So in here, you can attach your own knowledge base and everything, but then that just limits you to like just your knowledge base and all that. But if you had certain like automations, like let's say once a user calls in, you want to sort of log that a user has called. And so because of that, you want to track this in, let's say, a Google Sheet somewhere, like that's where you want to bring in n8n, because n8n would help you with like logging the information into, let's say, a Google Sheet or into like a database for tracking all the calls and all the requests that has come through. So yeah, which is why we are not just like limiting it to just adding a knowledge base in here. You just want to add a knowledge base outside, which is basically in n8n. And I'm going to show you how that would also work. In here, you can check if you want to basically include any like background sound, like let's say coffee shop, convention hall. You just need to like decide on the vibe you want the voice agent to be going for. Okay, so you can do call center vibes or maintain outdoor vibes. It really depends on you. Then in terms of webhook settings, we will not be using the webhook settings in this part. We'll be using our webhook settings in the functions part when I get there. I will be adding some functions and then we can move on from there. Okay, so let's get started with our main prompt in here. So this main prompt sort of like is basically the prompt where you describe your AI agent's personality, their conversation style, what their role is. So it doesn't have to be anything sophisticated. So I'm going to show you the exact prompt I'm going for. So I'm going to go for this exact prompt for my AI agent. Mind you, the use case I have in here is basically for compliance, but then the other use cases that you can fulfill with this AI voice agent. And I'm going to talk more about these use cases at the end as well, so that if you want to have like ideas or want to know where to sort of like where else you can deploy this AI voice agent, you get some ideas from those use cases I'll talk about at the end of this video. Also note that I'm going to drop the template for this tutorial as well in the comment section. Basically, you can join my school community for free and then you'll be able to have access to the templates. I'm going to drop the link to the school community as well in the description box or somewhere in the comment section so that you can download it as well. But yeah, in here I have like a role. The role in here is basically a HIPAA compliance assistant. It doesn't have to be HIPAA. It could be a compliance assistant for finance and healthcare, other industries, okay? And then I just have defined the behavior here. I've just said like greet briefly when the call starts, which is consistent with what I have in here, that AI speaks first. And I'm like, after the user asks their questions, then you call the user query function, which I would describe shortly. And then I have in here respond with a response field exactly as it appears word by word. Do not summarize. And then if the response is empty or unavailable, apologize and ask if they would like another question answered. And I have in here that like when the function returns a JSON containing a field name response, read the value exactly. The reason why I'm just reiterating this is that I just want to make sure that I am articulating this so well that the AI agent doesn't go and do its own thing. So now that I have this in here, because I'm mentioning response and all that, I want to add a custom function, okay? So the custom function I'm going to add really is a user query function. So like I mentioned earlier on in the prompt, I mentioned that after the user asks a question, call the user query function. So this is where I'm going to define what a user query function does. And then I'm going to put in a description. I'm just going to say like this user query function sort of like extracts the questions from the user's conversation. And then in here is where I'm going to put the webhook URL, and I'm going to show you how I'll do that in a second. And then timeout, I'm just going to keep it at 12, 120,000, I think is a lot of time. And then in terms of the headers, I'm just going to say content type. And then the value, I'm going to say application JSON because we are dealing with a JSON application. And then I'm not going to put anything in the query parameters. If you want to be, depending on what your use case is, you may be passing some parameters and stuff like that. This is a very basic use case, so I'm not passing any parameters. And then in terms of response, I'm going to add in, I'm just going to say response because I'm getting a response back. And then for the part, I'm also going to say response, okay? And then I'm just going to check this box, speak after execution, just because I don't want my agent to be talking in the middle of like when the function is running and all that. And then all I'll do is click save, okay? So once this bit is done, the other thing I'll do is you want to make sure that you are connecting your phone number, okay? If you have a phone number already in Trilio, you can import your phone number from Trilio. I already do have a video explaining how you can get your phone number in Trilio and all that. I'm going to leave that in the description box so that you can check it out. But you can import your phone number from Trilio. And then the other thing as well is if you import your phone number from Trilio, really, you just have to enter the phone number and then the termination URI. I just want to go into Trilio for a second and just explain something shortly. So when you come into Trilio, I'm assuming you already have a Trilio account. What you have to do is you come to voice and then you scroll down to manage and then you click on subdomains, okay? Once you click on subdomains, you'll be able to click on the plus button here. You can just put a dummy name, okay? So for instance, if it's Retell Agent n8n1, and then you can decide to put in like some credentials as well, because from what I showed you from Retell AI, you need to enter your credentials. Those are optional, but if you want to do so, you can do so. You enter your credentials and you need to put in your IP address here so that it's whitelisted. So let's come in here, add our new credentials. You can give it a friendly name. You give it a username. And then you give it a password, okay? Once you give it a password, all you have to do is click on create. And then you don't need to do anything else. You just have to save it. And once you save it, you'd have your SIP URI here. So this is a SIP URI that you're going to put into Retell AI, okay? So once you have your SIP URI ready, you come into Retell AI. You click, you put in the phone number, you put in the termination URI, which is really the SIP URI we just generated from Twilio. And then you put in like your username and then your password. You can give it a nickname. And then all you have to do is click on save. I didn't do that. I just bought a number from Retell AI because that's more simple and easier to do. You can do so $2 a month. You don't want to be paying for phone numbers in 2 different places. I just bought this because it was simpler for this tutorial. Okay, so that's how you get your phone number in here. So once you have your phone number, what you just have to do is you just need to connect it to like the agent you just created. So in this case, you just select the agent you have in here. And then same for the outbound. If you want to be making outbound calls, because I'm actually calling into the agent, you also need to like set that as well for the phone number. The other thing I want to mention is that in order for you to have the ability to make outbound calls, you need to verify yourself. Okay, so there's usually a button in here that says that if you want to make outbound calls, you need to verify yourself. And what this really means is that you are uploading your ID to like the cloud to another software. And then once you get verified, you have the ability to make outbound calls now. So now that I've explained how things work on the Retell AI side, let me show you exactly how things work on the n8n side. Okay, so part of this workflow is a workflow I took from my previous tutorial on building RAG AI agents in n8n. So I did a full tutorial on how to add documents and how to retrieve documents. I'd encourage you to watch that tutorial just so that you understand how the back end of RAG works. Because in this tutorial, I just wanted to focus on connecting AI voice agent you have in Retell AI and n8n. The whole process on how you can build your own RAG AI agent is in my previous tutorial, which I'm going to link in this video. Okay. All right. So we are starting off with a webhook node. And in this webhook node, all we are doing is we have a test URL. This test URL is the webhook URL we're going to be putting in Retell AI. So if we come into Retell AI, for instance, you see that in my custom function, there's a part where I need to add an API endpoint. So this is really the URL I'm taking from my n8n configuration. Okay, so once you have your webhook node, make sure that the HTTP method is set to post, and then you can put a path in here, and always make sure that you have respond using the webhook node. Okay, so what happens is that when a message comes in, our webhook picks it up, and so it gives you the exact transcript, everything. And then as you can see, it says agent. This is what the agent said, and this is what the user said. Okay, so it gives you the transcript. That is something that Retell AI does really well. It gives you the transcript, and in here I have a JavaScript code to really just give me what a user said. Okay, so this simple JavaScript code here is basically stripping off everything in the transcript that we have, and it's just giving us information based on what the user said. Okay, so I'm gonna come here, and if I should execute a step, you see that the exact query is in here and what is a HIPAA risk analysis. Okay, so now moving on. So this is a Pinecone vector store, and this is what I mentioned. This part of the tutorial I have already sort of done a tutorial on. I would encourage you to watch that video as well. But this is basically querying from the database where I already inputted my documentation on HIPAA. Okay, so when this query comes in here and I execute it, it's basically going to look into the database and give me the context. So it sees the question and it's like, this question is related to this part of the documentation that we have uploaded into our Pinecone database, because the documentation that was uploaded was sort of like divided into chunks. Okay, so it's just giving me the exact portion of the documents that talks about like the HIPAA risk analysis. And so now what I want to do is I want to basically like extract it and make it look a lot more readable. So I'm using this exact prompt in here to help make it a lot more readable, and I'm also passing in the question and the context, because this is where I'll be feeding it into my AI agent to sort of again modify this a little bit so that when the AI agent responds back to the user sort of understands it a lot more better. So in this AI agent here, this is a substance message I'm giving it. I'm just saying that you are a concise, helpful assistant. Use the context below to answer the user's question naturally. And if the answer isn't in the context, politely say you don't know. So it gives you the context and it's passing the context and the question as well. So as you can see, this is the output that we got from our AI agent. Now, this is basically what is passed on, okay, to our AI voice agent in Retell AI. So this response here, if I should run this right now, you see that this is the response. So this is the response that is passed into Retell AI, our voice agent in Retell AI. See, this isn't just a chatbot that talks. It's basically a voice RAG agent that can pull pull real answers from your own documents, okay? So just imagine these other use cases that you can leverage this AI voice RAG agent, a customer support agent that basically answers FAQs straight from your policy or your product manual, or even a training assistant that helps new hires learn internal procedures just by speaking to it, or even a knowledge-based voice bot that reads your company's documents aloud on demand. The possibilities here are endless. I would encourage you to try it out yourself. Like I mentioned, I'm going to leave the link in the description box and in the comment section below so that you can also download a template, try it out, join the school community. There's a lot of fun activity and a lot of learning going on there. But that is it for today's tutorial. As usual, thank you for watching this, share this, subscribe, all the good stuff. See you in the next one.
Hello, this is your compliance assistant. I can help answer questions about the HIPAA security rule. What would you like to learn about today?
What is a HIPAA risk analysis?
The HIPAA risk analysis is a required implementation specification under the Security Management Process Standard of the HIPAA security rule. It requires covered entities and business associates to conduct an accurate and thorough assessment of the potential risks and vulnerabilities to the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of electronic protected health information, EPHI, held by the organization. The risk analysis process is intended to identify what EPHI an organization creates, receives, maintains, or transmits, and to assess the risks to that information. The results of the risk analysis are used to guide the implementation of security measures to reduce risks and vulnerabilities to a reasonable and appropriate level to comply with the security rule.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions about HIPAA compliance, feel free to ask.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you for reaching out.